Hello friends, Dr. Chad Arnow from the University of Dayton Winds and Brass channel with another Trombone Basics video. This is part of an ongoing series of videos geared for developing trombone players with all sorts of helpful information. If you want to get the whole series, make sure you have liked, subscribed, hit the bell notifications, or done whatever YouTube is doing these days to make sure you get those things showing up in your feed. Today's video is a fairly simple one. What are the various parts of the trombone called? Some of the other videos in this series will reference some of these terms, so I wanted to make sure that the viewers are aware of what I'm talking about when I reference these parts. Let's get started. The trombone is made up of three distinct parts: the mouthpiece, the slide section, and the bell section. We'll start with the smallest one of those, the mouthpiece. The mouthpiece is the smallest part and is typically made of one piece of solid brass, usually silver-plated. It's a pretty simple little mechanism, but it has some parts with their own labels. First, there is the rim, the part that actually touches your face. The cup, which may or may not be cup-shaped on the inside or the outside. And then the part down here is referred to as the shank. Rim, cup, and shank. Usually on the outside of the cup, you'll see engraved or stamped the maker's name and a size indication. That can be helpful information to know at various points. A little more advanced information is on the inside. The hole through the middle is called the bore. How you get from the bore to the end of the shank is known as the back bore. The cup itself, as was mentioned, can be cup-shaped, can be bowl-shaped, it can be funnel-shaped. The outside shape can have nothing to do with the interior shape. But this is the mouthpiece, the smallest part of the trombone. This part, the shank, goes into the hand slide section, and we'll see how that works. The next piece is arguably what makes the trombone. It's the heart of the instrument, the slide section, made up of a lot of different pieces, and we'll cover the most important ones right now. At the top, we have a tenon, which goes into the bell section that we'll see later. Just below it are threads that the locking nut on the bell section screws into. On some trombones, there is actually the locking nut here and the threads on the bell section, but typically the tenon has the threads on the hand slide and the locking nut on the bell section. Over here is the mouthpiece receiver. The shank of the mouthpiece that we just talked about inserts right into here. Below that, we have the left hand grip, also known as a brace or a stay. These two parts here are known as cork barrels because earlier on they used to have cork in them to stop them from making so much noise when the slide came all the way in. Tenon, mouthpiece receiver, left hand grip, and cork barrels. Also included in the upper cork barrel is typically the slide lock assembly, which is a part that rotates here that keys into a part on the hand slide to keep the hand slide from falling off or coming apart when you don't mean for it to. This can take a lot of different forms on different trombones, but the mechanism is all the same. You have a rotating piece that engages with a tab on the slide itself. All of what you've seen so far, the cork barrels, the left-hand grip, the tenon, and the receiver, are part of the inner slide assembly. If we unlock the slide and take it apart, you'll see the inner slide. We have two inner slide tubes, typically chrome-plated, so that they move, and they usually should be shiny. If yours are not, they need to be cleaned. This end here, the last few inches, is usually slightly wider, and you'll see a little line that denotes where that starts. Those are called the stockings, and they help with friction management when the slide is moving. Now, the other part of the slide that I just removed is called the outer slide for obvious reasons. The outer slide is the part you actually move while you're playing. It's made up of the right hand grip or brace, the outer slide tubes, and then at the bottom, a crook, also known as a bow or a bend, that is more or less round in shape. On the crook you'll find a small post with usually a rubber bumper on there. This is what the slide should be set on when you're putting it on the floor, either to take it apart, put it together, or just when you're resting it there. We also have the water key or spit valve assembly right here, made up of the actual key itself, which has either a cork or a neoprene stopper, a saddle that connects it to the bow, a spring so that it goes back and forth without needing a lot of effort, and then a small cutout in the slide bow itself where the water drains out as you play. The next part is the bell section. This is the part the sound comes out of, the most visible part of the instrument, made up of several pieces, which we'll go through now. First is the hand slide receiver. This is where the tenon from the hand slide goes into and is secured with the locking nut. There is the forward bell brace, the rear bell brace, and in between them, the neck pipe, which is often slightly curved to follow the shape of your neck. At this end, we have the tuning slide assembly. This is put together a lot like your hand slide in that there are two inner tubes and two outer tubes. On many trombones, the tuning slide itself has both inner legs and they insert into the bell section. Some trombones, like this one though, have an outer leg and an inner leg on the tuning slide and the opposite on the bell section itself. It's a design choice that some people feel helps it play a little bit better. It's a personal choice. Also, many trombones, but not all, have a counterweight mounted to the brace on the tuning slide. This is an important way of making sure that the instrument balances well when you play. The doubled up tubes, inner and outer slide tubes, add a fair amount of weight to the instrument that can pull the instrument forward. By having a metal counterweight here, it helps it balance more naturally and comfortably. It also serves as a convenient advertisement for the name of the maker. They usually put that on there. The final piece of the bell section is what gives it its name, the bell itself, stretching from here to here. It's a flaring piece of brass that starts small and widens quite a bit toward the end. This portion of the bell is called the stem. Down here we get the flare and the throat. Stem, throat, and flare. The flare itself typically has a turned over edge that keeps the edge from being sharp, keeps it from being too thin, and also can affect the sound as well. You'll often see the maker's name engraved or stamped on the bell, and on this section here by the hand slide receiver or on it, you might find a model number or a serial number that tells you more about the instrument. That can also be found sometimes on the slide section depending on the brand. Every trombone is different. Yours might look different than this, but they all work the same way. These are the basic parts that you need to know about to understand your trombone. This is very different from bass trombones, which would be a separate video, or trombones with a trigger, which are also more complex. This is your basic straight trombone that would be much like the ones that you're playing. As always, if you have questions, feel free to contact me through my website, linked below, or through the University of Dayton's website, also linked below. I'd love to talk to you. I'd love to give you more information about the instrument, about what we do at UD, or anything else you might have questions on. Till next time, thanks.